Taking refuge in an unoccupied bookshop in a mysteriously rebuilt strip mall of the damned, glaring balefully across the aisle at a video store now occupied by freakish doppelgangers, the members of a secret society try to continue their work condemning the perverse and heretical, having nothing better to do on a Wednesday. To scrutinize those films which are rumored to drive viewers to madness and dissolution, draw closer, dear listener. Let your trembling ears sup upon the eldritch knowledge of the Cinemania Society.
We the fellows of the Lens Hall do convene to judge if this fine cinema worthy of our esteem, or whether it should be cast down worthless hokum. Let us start our feminine judgment.
We the fellows...
The story so far. Taking refuge from a group of strange, twisted doppelgangers, our heroes are desperate to work out how to deal with these devilish duplicates and have taken inspiration from the 1990 Franken-Freak-Fest movie Frankenstein Unbound by legendary director Roger Corman. Super scientist John Hurt is flung back in time as a result of mad scientific hubris and decides to have a lovely holiday meeting up with historical figures and attending barely disguised sex parties. However, Victor Frankenstein turns out to be real and there's a whole monster situation to deal with. We join our heroes as final deliberations begin.
Very well. We have studied the subject of this conclave sufficiently. It's time to bring proceedings to a close with our final deliberation.
Wait, we were supposed to be learning things?
Maybe we learned that the monster was actually us all along? That's usually what you learn, isn't it?
I mean, that sounds right.
Yeah, the monster is usually supposed to be us all along. That's pretty standard.
This wasn't the monsters are due on Maple Street.
Well, I learned that aggressive letter writing is all very well in the 19th century, but doesn't seem to have the same effect nowadays.
I think it's fair to say we didn't learn very much. Now we must begin our most reverent and important task and decide once and for all in the matter of Cinemania whether Frankenstein Unbound is innocent or guilty.
Guilty!
Not yet. We have to do the thing first, you ancient prune. Society members, present your cases. And by your, I mean mine. I have some ideas you all need to hear. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of point out a few things. One, this was Roger Corman's first directorial effort in nearly 15 years.
And it shows.
And it was also the last and most expensive of his career, the last time he was in the director's chair.
And it shows.
It had a pretty respectable mid-budget at the time, which is quite a lot for Corman given his career, which he had almost $12 million to make this piece of shit. And it was an absolute box office bomb. And by bomb, I mean global box office sales brought in $335,000.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Not even 3% of its production budget.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the technical industry term for that is turd fest.
No, this is a worse bomb than even Space Jam, which is notorious for having been a massive box office bomb. Like if it was anyone other than Roger Corman, this would have utterly sank their career forever. But that didn't stop Roger Corman because he was still an extremely prolific producer who went on to continue to make dog shit movies as a producer for the rest of his life until he died last year. You should listen to our profile on Cinemania about Roger Corman if you haven't already heard it yet. Go listen to it because it's a banger.
It just goes to show the benefits of being a rich white man. People will throw money at you and let you do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes, that is true. But even if he was a rich white man and he had tanked a feature film with this much money that bad, there are plenty of rich white men who were never allowed to return to Hollywood ever again.
Yep.
But it was Roger Corman.
Yeah, normally losing money is the one cardinal sin.
He played his privilege to the max.
I think it was by this point people recognized that, like, even if this was a really bad performance, the guy had enriched the industry beyond the dreams of avarice previous to this, so they were probably okay. Like there were a lot of pissed off investors, I'm sure, but ultimately folks were like, yeah, okay, but you know. The next thing he went on to do after this was the abortive effort to make the Fantastic Four feature film. which never actually got made, but you can find legends about this. You go online and you read about it. There's lots of wild speculation about whether or not it was a money laundering enterprise. Now, I don't buy that, but film production is and has always been a means by which people launder money. I don't think this was that in that case, but Roger Corman did actually try to do the first feature film adaptation of the Fantastic Four.
Considering how all the rest of them turned out, he may have lucked out that it never got made.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, this was definitely in the period of Marvel's decline. Like, Marvel movies definitely sucked pretty hard in the 90s. I mean, there were a few that were okay, but the thing that's really funny about this is you go and look it up. Go look up pictures from this, the pre-production pictures from this. Look, and particularly look at The Thing, Ben Grimm, and the costume that was built. The guy who was supposed to play Ben Grimm is a friend of mine by the name of Carl Ciarfolio, who is an absolute fucking legend in the stunt world. Like, this guy, this is a guy who, like, he was blown away on screen by every major action movie star in the 80s and 90s. And then the thing that people remember Carl most from was as the mobster who gets his head smushed in a vice by Joe Pesci in Casino.
Oh, that guy!
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's Carl.
I remember that head.
Carl's a buddy of mine. He and I worked together on.
How's he feeling since that?
He's not doing so great. He and I had a little text exchange over the holidays. I send him Christmas cards, but he's not doing so good right now. He's retired, but his health is not good. So, Carl, if you're listening to this, we wish you our best, and I'm thinking about you, man. Anyway, Carl was supposed to have played Ben Grimm in the Fantastic Four, Roger Corman's take on the Fantastic Four, which never got made. But anyway, Roger Corman went on to enjoy a fantastic career. Also, this movie, like I mentioned earlier, is an adaptation from a novel of the same name by Brian Aldiss, who is a British sci-fi author. I haven't read a ton of Aldiss, but he co-founded a science fiction society with my favorite sci-fi author, Harry Harrison, who also had movies produced into feature film, Make Room, which got made into, who knows it? Soylent Green.
Yes.
Oh.
And, while Harry Harrison was definitely tongue-in-cheek, Aldiss, I don't think, was quite as tongue-in-cheek. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that exactly, but all I can say is that, like, I don't feel that this movie is a particularly good example of Brian Aldiss's work. And I hate to say it, but if this is I don't want people to think that either Aldiss or Harry Harrison should be shamed by proximity to this ginormous piece of shit. To me, the best thing about this movie was the poster.
Why not tell our audience what the poster is?
Okay, well, the poster is basically just a close-up of a human eye, but it has stitching, like it's clearly somebody has stitched together an eyeball, and there's 3 different colors of iris, which, why would you do that? That's...
Eyes are one of the easiest parts to get whole. You can get all kinds of eyeballs. Like, that's not a difficult one. You shouldn't have to stitch those together.
Yeah, just go out with a melon baller.
I mean, Hope, yeah. I was about to say it, Andy. Hope just goes around with a melon baller most nights, just in case.
Dude, you don't even know what's in my purse.
But I can say this. It was effective because, the young Inquisitor Ethan, as sensitive as I was to horror in my middle school and early teen years, this was enough to dissuade me from bothering to pick it up. And if I had picked it up and watched it, I would never, it wouldn't have bothered me in the least. To me, this movie feels like it could have been a throwaway episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, honestly. The other thing that I was thinking about as I'm watching this whole thing is, why is the Frankenstein's monster so grouchy? Does anybody know whether the monster feels pain? Like, have we seen this? He's afraid of fire, but have we seen that whether he feels pain?
I'm not sure that he does.
He kept complaining that he needed a mate or a companion. I'm like, has nobody taught him to masturbate?
So he's got blue balls. That's a kind of pain.
The pain of horniness, yeah.
We've got the idea that, we can see the monster is afraid of fire. We can see the monster is horny, but we don't know if he feels pain. And that maybe, if he does, that might explain why he's so grouchy. I mean, he was the subject of a hell of a lot of surgery. I mean, think about how grouchy you feel after major surgery. Well, he had major surgery on literally every part and was brought back to life. Understanding the motivation of the monster from this perspective actually kind of helps you feel some compassion for him. I feel like understanding the motivation of the living dead to attack and devour the living was the best part and the most innovative part of Return of the Living Dead. No other movie bothered to really explain why the zombies were doing this, but it explains a lot if this is what Frankenstein's monster is feeling.
Whether or not he feels physical pain, they're showing that he feels emotional pain.
Yeah, well, speaking of emotional pain, that's what this movie caused me to feel, which is why I'm ruling it guilty.
We got there.
I do feel like motivation wise, I'm kind of with Hope on this, that like he seems really like, at least in terms of what we actually see of him, he seems most driven by like the whole flight or fuck mentality.
Preferably in that order.
Is that a new one from Freud?
Well, it's like fear of fire, flight, or horny fuck.
I mean, if somebody had just taught him how to masturbate, I think we could have avoided this entire film.
Yeah.
Well, but he doesn't know his own strength. He might have masturbated his own member off.
Well, he can just reattach it. That's what he is. He can just reattach it.
Victor, I've wanked my cock off. You have to do something, Victor.
Just take it back to the mechanics.
That's the whole joke behind Cravensworth's monster.
Yep, keeps ripping it right off and offering it to people.
There's a whole song, Detachable Penis, about it.
That was a great Dr. Demento number.
So as far as my judgment, I started the movie liking it quite a bit. But the gore is, it kind of, it's a Frankenstein movie, but it can get pretty intense, not being a horror fan myself. So part of my reason I have to find it guilty is because it lured me in with its art house kind of style and premise, and then just flew through a bunch of blood and squelching and gore at the screen and almost hit my limit. So that's part of the reason. The other part, though, is that I was just irritated the whole time with John Hurt breaking all of the time travel rules with no consequences.
Yeah, this film had no interest in any consequence.
There's no personal consequences.
Yeah, no personal consequences.
Just the major earth-shattering consequences.
But I would actually say that the whole planet freezing or whatever, falling apart, was already, before he went to the past, a given thing, because he was causing rips in time and he had no idea how to fix them. So I feel like this whole Frankenstein story was kind of a diversion, because when he gets back to the present, he's left with the same mess it left there.
Oh, yeah, no, you're totally right. Like, by the time he rips open the sky, which is the first 5 minutes of the movie,
right,
the car later confirms, that's it. You're done.
You're done.
There's no fixing that.
No.
We're going to send you back in the past so that you can experience a very weird, warped version of the Frankenstein story to teach you a lesson that, by the way, what you did was wrong, but you can't fix it.
No, just can't fix it.
Now you're going on a...
Explained that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, the car...
Oh, yeah, it's pretty clear that once the time rip happens, the car's like, yeah, I don't think you can fix this.
Yeah, did a bunch of calculations.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't come up till towards the end of the movie, but the car reveals it, and that tells us that over the course of this whole movie, there was no hope for it. Like, he was maybe trying, but there was no hope for it. So, like, yeah, at worst, his punishment at the end of time is like, and now you have to do like a cross-country skiing trek. Like, people do that for fun.
You shit the bed, now you lie in it.
So, all of the breaking the time travel rules during the movie just really irritated me. Like driving around where an open view of everyone in his car, showing off his fancy other technology, like just walking into a inn in his modern clothes and stuff. Nothing bad happens to him. He is completely fine.
Not put on trial for witchcraft or anything.
Exactly, not put on trial for witchcraft. They didn't try to drown him or stone him or anything.
And these are people who are really big on trials for witchcraft as well. That they love doing that.
That's well established.
Yes.
And and the whole thing is post Star Trek Next Generation, post Back to the Future. So they knew the rules. Everybody knew the time travel rules by then. No excuse.
So yeah, that was it. For those two reasons, I have to judge this movie guilty of causing Cinemania.
Hope, do you want to render judgment next?
Sure.
Speaking of time travel and the next gen.
Yeah. Like Ethan said, this could easily have been just a throwaway episode of Next Generation or the plot to another Back to the Future movie. I mean, had they followed any of the rules.
Like the episode where they go back and meet Mark Twain.
Yeah. It's just like that. I mean, this could have been, throw in Dr. Moriarty and a fistful of datas, and this could have been a holodeck episode.
Data, have you gone back in time and had sex with Mary Shelley?
Only a holographic representation of her.
I mean, you know that's why they invented the holodeck to have sex. So, like, the fact that, and it would, and you're right, Hope, it would totally better explain the whole weird, both Mary Shelley and Frankenstein are real in this universe thing, as if it was all just fucking holodeck.
Yeah, it's not a real universe.
So I guess that's the question then, Hope. Would this film have been better with Patrick Stewart?
Everything's better with Patrick Stewart. Oh my gosh, have you seen him on Sesame Street? That man's amazing.
Should he have been in the John Hurt role, or given his flute, or should he have been Byron?
I think he's too good for this.
I think he should have been Dr. Frankenstein.
I think he could have been the monster. He had
Oh God, from his Borg days?
Yes.
90s Patrick Stewart was buff, don't forget.
Mm-hmm. They could put a wig on him again. Have you seen those test shots with him in the wig? So great. So bad. Yeah, just for all the things that it could have been but wasn't, and could have done this story better, that I think that's the Cinemania that it's caused for me, is just all of what could have been, imagining all of what could have been. How much better it would have been.
Well, just think, when John Hurt comes back to the future, the frozen wasteland, he could have found a world dominated by his own AI-powered car that's just been hanging around all this time and is now ruling humanity with an iron fender. It could have turned into Transformers the movie.
Well, and that could also have been a Star Trek episode. How many times have they gone to a planet that's been run by a malicious AI or evil computer?
Yeah, they just leave the car there. It could do anything. We don't know.
Yes, so it could have been all these other things, and all of them would have been better. And so we're left with the aftertaste, the phantom remnants of what could have been, and nothing actually good.
Though the car theory, the battery probably would have died.
I bet it's solar powered.
So Hope, how do you rule?
Obviously guilty. Everything's guilty. Everything you guys choose is guilty.
We don't know that. That's the purpose of the conclaves.
Yeah, no, everything has got a right to a fair trial.
Very fair.
Before it is found guilty.
Who's next for judgment?
I have a few words I would like to say at this juncture. I believe that Shakespeare it was who said that there are many ages to man, and just as man has many ages, every age has its own Frankenstein. It's a story that just comes round and round again. Every couple of years, someone wants to redo the Frankenstein story and put their own modern twist on it. We've seen it a couple of times in the last 10 years alone, I believe. And they all want to act like they're the ones telling a story the way nobody has ever told it before. This one might just have achieved that because nobody had thought of doing this kind of crap before.
Maybe for a good reason.
Yeah, we have this bizarre paradox in this film where on the one hand, John Hurt's gone back in time and, oh, look, turns out Frankenstein is real. And on the other hand, Mary Shelley is there writing her fictional story, Frankenstein the novel. And he has the gall to tell Shelley, oh, yeah, your novel is really great, when he's seen the actual events happen just over the lake a few miles down the road. This film can't really decide whether it wants to be a historical-esque drama imagining what if something that was a story was actually real, or let's go back in time and talk to a famous author and meet people from history, which is another kind of film. It can't manage to go one way or the other. It tries to do too many things at once and achieves none of them very well. I remember seeing this film as a kid on TV, and I thought, oh, that's interesting and fun, and kind of forgot about it. But it did sort of lodge in the back of my mind, because it is a weird freak fest of a film, a smorgasbord of ideas, none of which come together very well. But just for the fact that it ties itself in as many knots as it ties the audience, resolving nothing, suggesting lots of things, but never following through on them, coming up with really good ideas and actually throwing them away because it can't be bothered to delve into them, and taking genuinely very good actors like Raul Julia, who's brilliant, and John Hurt, who's amazing, and making them speak those crappy scripts out loud. I can find this film nothing less than totally guilty.
Amazing and succinct as usual. Thank you, Andy.
I guess that leaves me. Here's a big surprise. This film is guilty as fuck. Certainly for all of the things that you guys brought up, the fact that this film keeps making us think about it in terms of other films we wish it had been, like the car that takes over the world at the end, or the car that like re-instructs humanity in technology far beyond its means during the 19th century.
Ooh, that'd be good.
I guess a lot of them have to do with the car. The car is really way more interesting. But to me, the heart of what makes this film guilty is its, whether intended or not, its contributions to the attempted erasure of Mary Shelley's contributions. There's already, we noted this, there's already tons and tons of debate over how much credit should really belong to Mary Shelley for writing her great novel. And she's written other stuff too, and they all try to take the credit away from her on those as well, because she happened to be married to Percy Shelley. And this movie goes even so far as to say, it's like, oh, it's not even fiction. She just was like, she was observing it at the time. And then she just wrote it down. So fuck that noise and fuck this film. It is guilty.
Well said.
I honestly am left wondering who played Frankenstein best. What was the best Frankenstein's monster?
Well, I mean, you've got your Karloff, of course, the original.
No, I don't think he was quite the thunder and dummy that he was portrayed as being. Like he was pretty horrific, especially like when the ceiling collapsed on him, or the roof timber collapses on him, and he's flailing and screaming in a way that's pretty disturbing. Like it wasn't just groaning and shuffling. There was a he had a ferocity to his movements that really creeped me out.
Oh yeah, I would argue he might be the best simply because he managed to convey all of that, and also the pathos and the emotion and the sympathy that we might have for the monster with zero dialogue.
So are you looking best as in most scary, or best as most humane, or best as a combination of the two? What do you feel?
I don't know. Like, I guess it's subjective like everything else here. We could...
it's not. The definition of Cinemania is absolute.
We could compare... I don't know. I feel like just doing a brief comparison of different Frankenstein's monsters as depicted on film and television over the years. Not all of them. We don't have to do all of them, but so what are the ones that stand out to you?
I have a favorite Frankenstein. It's not a classic. It's from the Van Helsing movie with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, Lord.
No, but the Frankenstein is really good. He speaks perfectly well. He never groans. He's like, I want to live. Like, there's a whole question between whether Van Helsing should get rid of him because he's a quote monster. But in this version, he hasn't killed anyone. He's just an abomination because of the way he was made. And there's the question of whether or not the church should command that he be destroyed. And Van Helsing's like, but there's no evil in you. You're not killing people in this version. So I don't think I should kill you. And so he just wants to exist, right? He's not a terrible monster in the sense that he doesn't go around killing people. He's mostly kept off the radar, but the whole village and even the hierarchy of the church that hires Van Helsing to get rid of monsters wants to get rid of him. So it's a really great exploration. If just because you are created through hideous means, but you don't do hideous things, like his desire just to exist. And so
there's kind of a moral gray area.
The humanity is really great.
Yeah. So here's a really interesting thing, since we're talking about who did it best, so the actor. So Shuler Hensley, who played Frankenstein in Van Helsing, I'm trying not to vomit as I say that movie title. He's not a big actor in film. He's really much more of a stage actor, but he played Frankenstein's monster in a lot of stage productions. Not to mention audio recording, recorded books and things like that. So he had this weird cachet as the monster when they brought him in for that. He was kind of intended to lend it a certain amount of more class.
We're talking about the same film here, right? Cheesy, terrible Van Helsing film.
He failed to lend it any class. But yeah, because keep in mind, Hugh Jackman was Van Helsing. Hugh Jackman, also a big stage actor. They had worked together before. So yeah. But he did his best.
That's my favorite, just because the humanity. And now that you say he was a stage actor, it is a little stagey, like, I want to live, and stuff like that. I mean, I thought it was powerful, but like, if you're not into that kind of performance, you might like something a little more subtle, I guess.
Well, no, he was definitely the best thing about that movie. It's just that it's a very low bar to be the best thing in that movie.
Oh, what about a really classy example? You got De Niro.
Yep, in the Kenneth Branagh, chewing up the scenery with dialogue aplenty. It's like making up for all the dialogue Boris Karloff didn't have.
Oh, man. But it was much more, I mean, say what you will about the Branagh, basically sort of looking at Francis Ford Coppola and being like, hey, you did Bram Stoker's Dracula. Well, I can do Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Hold my beer.
It was actually fairly true to the book. Like, it was much truer to the book than...
yeah.
If you're about to compare it to Frankenstein Unbound for like accuracy to the book, I think I might just quit.
No. I mean, Frankenstein Unbound, like, if we're talking Frankenstein Unbound was not accurate to Mary Shelley's book. I don't even think it was particularly accurate to Brian Aldish's book. But no, I wasn't going to compare that. All I was just going to say is
I'm teasing.
Then just about any other Frankenstein film, except for maybe Young Frankenstein, that was fairly true to the book.
No, that's actually really true.
I'm going to chime in with that was my favorite. That was Young Frankenstein is definitely my favorite.
Oh, definite classic.
That's probably my favorite too. Though I will say, putting aside Young Frankenstein because it's just such a delightful movie, probably my favorite Frankenstein film adaptation is the Kenneth Branagh because of its accuracy. Like, I really like Robert De Niro, and I like the fact that they got back to the monster being more erudite. I just don't think he can top Karloff just for the pathos, though. Like, Karloff is just so fucking good, despite the weird choice to like just make him right. And there's been a few others. Like they did a few other Frankensteins, like in the vein, without Karloff, but I think he's the best.
What about the classic Fred Gwynne as Herman Munster? There's kind of a takeoff of Frankenstein. He's Frankenstein-esque.
I guess there are a lot of people who remember Herman Munster as being their Frankenstein in the same way that they remember Grandpa Munster as being their Dracula. But
he might actually be the most Frankenstein of the zeitgeist.
Remember, there was a big cultural aspect to the Munsters because Herman was very much a self-made man, if you like. He was up and coming. He was the classic American example of someone trying to get ahead by doing well at work and pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and providing for their family. It was the 50s ideal of the nuclear family paterfamilias.
I mean, technically he's not self-made because I don't even think they have a Dr. Frankenstein. I think it was Grandpa the vampire who stitched him together, right?
No, because definitely not, because Grandpa was Lily's father.
That's right. Who made Herman Munster?
I think it's one of the few, not many, just a few plot holes in the Munsters TV series.
In the otherwise tight thriller plotting of the Munsters.
Well, so as long as we're talking about weird Frankenstein acts, I'm reminded of Hope's profile that she did on Ian Holm, who realizes that Ian Holm played the creature in 1968. Like the monster is typically portrayed as being this looming, like 7 foot tall beast, but Ian Holm is definitely not a loomer.
All 5'2" of him.
He's a lot of things. He's not a loomer.
Except for that one moment in The Lord of the Rings when he goes, he golems out.
But does anybody else familiar with the Frankenstein Chronicles where Sean Bean played the monster?
Yep. Well, so I wrote a Frankenstein musical back in the early aughts. So like I've seen pretty much everything Frankenstein, unfortunately. Actually, I missed this film. Ironically, this was the first time I've seen this film. I was unaware of it.
But
But
anyway,
but yeah, go on. Sean Bean. Yep, he was good.
yeah. Well, I mean, do we want to put it up to a vote of our different Frankenstein's monsters that we put up here? Because I definitely think that Frankenstein Unbound, the way the monster is represented there should be forgotten.
I like this sort of. He's kind of like he's trying to pretend to be like Lou Ferrigno in the Hulk. Like
I
that's
think
kind
we
of about as far as it
can.
gets.
I think we can all agree there have been many good Frankensteins, all with their own good points and bad points. And this Frankenstein that we've just seen in this movie is not on that list.
Yes.
If we're throwing in TV Frankensteins, I'm going to throw in the actor Andy Asaf, who played Cravensworth's monster in What We Do in the Shadows. He did quite well.
We cannot forget about the Cravensworth's monster. I'm going to nominate that one as my favorite.
Literally just ripped his dick off, handing it to everybody.
Oh God, that was admittedly that was really funny. But also, who was the guy who played the monster when they did Penny Dreadful? He was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Or the guy who played the monster in Waxwork 2. Did anybody ever see that movie?
Wait, Frankenstein the monster is in Waxwork 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's a scene where
I have not seen every
Frankenstein's monster
what the fuck?
catches and kills Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, and like squishes his head. The brain flies across the room, and the lead character in Waxwork 2 catches it, goes and drops it. Like it is pure comedy gold.
Wow, that is definitely in the Roger Corman school of Frankenstein movies.
Oh man, Waxwork 2, like the original Waxwork
crazy.
sucked. So Waxwork 2 is absolutely priceless. It is so funny.
You know, my favorite version of the Frankenstein and monster dynamic, I don't even know who played it, but there was, I think, a TV movie where the monster and the doctor were connected. So with one felt pain, the other felt pain. That was such an interesting concept.
Yeah, I remember this. What the fuck was it?
It was like
called?
probably in the 90s.
Yep.
But I can't think of who
that.
played the people or what the title was.
Oh my God, what was that?
It really messed with your brain to think that they could literally be connected that way. I forget, it had something to do with magnetism or how they did it.
Yeah. It was one of those shows in the 90s where they were trying to get a good series going, and it maybe got half a season before they canceled it.
Yeah, which is too bad because I thought that was a really cool concept.
Yeah, it was like it got more than a pilot, but not a lot. What the hell was
There's an episode of Black Mirror that's kind of like that, where the dude can feel other people's emotions.
Well, there's any number of different representations of Frankenstein's monster. I think we may have opened a can of worms here. So I'm just going to close that can right the fuck back up and proceed.
Okay, that is completely off-brand for this society.
True.
I don't disagree, and I'm still closing the can.
And with that, as Pontifex of Presentment, I confirm that this movie is guilty of Cinemania. May this cursed media be consigned forever to the vault of dangerous knowledge and unsteady devices.
Hey, that reminds me. We really need to sort out our whole vault situation. We need our video store back. We had such a cool vault.
Let it be decided. We need to get our cool vault back too.
It is so recorded. This conclave is hereby concluded.
What did we have in that vault anyway?
Oh, lots and lots and lots of...
So many
Leonard
Well,
Part
it
6.
So if these evil us's aren't super science flesh freaks, where does that leave us?
Well, I guess we'll just have to think of some other plan.
Now, what about leaflets? Really mean ones.
Just let it go, man. Let it go.
I have a feeling that our plans are going to involve watching more movies.
Oh, yeah.
As long as these plans involve more
Good.
cocktails and more snacks.
Oh,
cocktails and
absolutely.
snacks.
Yeah, I hope so.
Nutter butters, yeah.
Maybe we could get someone else to carry heavy objects around. Oh.
So all we did was figure out how much we don't know about what's going on.
That's about the size of it.
Hit the nail on the head there. We definitely have a firm grip on the sheer amount of stuff we don't have a fucking clue about.
Well, we got to see some hot guys in puffy shirts flouncing around a lake. I mean, that's something at least.
Oh, yeah. And that means...
Yes.
It means... In that case...
Yeah, go on.
No, I didn't get it at all.
Look, it's a simple story. Boy invents death ray. Death ray sucks boy into past. Boy impresses major romantic figures of the 19th century and has sex with their collective girlfriend. Boy creates monster. Monster usurps boy. Boy shoots monster with a laser and heads off into the icy nightmare of the future.
How many times are they going to rehash that old trope?
Huh. Time travel. Well, you know what they say about that.
Don't you dare. Don't you bloody dare.
What's past is prologue.
That's it. I'm writing a letter, and it's gonna burn you
can
up,
send
buddy.
that letter. You can send it to P.O. Box My Ass. That's what you can send it.
The Cinemania Society was written, produced, and performed by Andy Slack, Daniel Scribner, Hope Bravo, Ethan Ireland, Andrea Palladino, and Zachariah Burks. Editing and sound design by Ethan Ireland. Music by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Incidental music and sound effects courtesy of Epidemic Sound and Wikimedia Commons. The Cinemania Society is a work of fiction. Unless otherwise indicated, all of the names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents appearing in this audio play are either the product of the author's imagination or are used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living dead, or actual events is purely coincidental and or part of a work of parody that should not be construed as making statements or allegations of actual fact. All celebrity voices are impersonated unless otherwise stated. The Cinemania Society is available on social media. You can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, or Blue Sky, and our Reddit feed at r/The Cinemania Society. You can also email us at thecinemaniasociety.gmail.com. You, yes you listening right now, please take a second to drop us a line, because not only are we dying for an excuse to do a listener mail episode, we'd genuinely love to hear from you.